Hello and welcome to another episode of the Thriving Metabolism, where we discuss everything that impacts your hormones and metabolism so that you can take control, repair the damage, and lose weight consistently without making yourself miserable in the process. Most weight loss strategies and diets actually do harm to your metabolism, resulting in further weight gain down the road. And it can be particularly challenging for women over 40 due to hormonal and metabolic changes. So it's my mission to empower you so that you and your metabolism thrives and you never have to go through diet misery again. I'm Louise Digby, registered nutritional therapist, weight loss expert, and founder of the Nourish Method to Lasting Fat Loss. In today's episode, we're going to be jumping back to the thyroid again because a few episodes ago, I explained how to know if you've got an underactive thyroid and why your GP may have missed it. And I highly recommend going back and listening to that if you haven't, because the tests that are done at the doctors are just too basic to pick up borderline imbalances. And there are lots of other problems with thyroid testing and lots of people that get missed. So I walk you through all of that in that episode. Today, we're going to be looking more at why the thyroid becomes imbalanced and whether there's anything you can do about it and whether medication is your only option. Unsurprisingly, when you are diagnosed with a thyroid problem, no effort is made to uncover the cause of that problem. You just get given a pill. And your doctor will tell you that you can't do anything about thyroid problems and the only option is medication. However, when I tell you today about what the underlying causes of thyroid problems can be, you'll see that it is absolutely possible to address thyroid issues in many cases. And at the very least, we can prevent the problems from getting worse because thyroids don't just randomly start playing up. There's always a reason. So what makes your thyroid become imbalanced? Well, firstly, deficiencies. The thyroid hormones are made mainly from iodine and tyrosine. So straight away, if you're deficient in either of those, you're not going to be able to make enough thyroid hormone. It's estimated that about 35 to 45% of the world's population is deficient in iodine. So you would think that your doctor might check this when a thyroid problem is discovered, but of course not. That would be too logical. Now, to be fair, testing iodine isn't as simple as doing a blood test, and supplementing iodine isn't recommended unless you're working with a practitioner because overdosing is a real risk. However, getting more into your food is easy when you know how. So you can buy iodized salt, which is salt that has iodine added to it. You can eat more seafood, especially seaweeds like nori. Eating more eggs and more liver is a great way to get more iodine in your diet, preferably organic liver. Now, tyrosine deficiency is much rarer, but that doesn't mean that you're getting enough of it in your diet, even if you're not deficient. Tyrosine comes from protein. So yeah, again, we need to ensure that we're getting enough protein and absorbing it properly by looking at the health of the gut. Now, iodine and tyrosine are what the thyroid hormones are made from, but there's more nutrients involved in the processing and converting of thyroid hormones. And that will include zinc, selenium, iron, vitamin A, the B vitamins too. And these are all common deficiencies that we see in our clients all the time. So optimizing those nutrient levels is important for maximizing thyroid function. Another key problem that occurs with the thyroid is when the main thyroid hormone T4 isn't converted into T3 very efficiently, and that results in low T3 levels. Now, this can happen because of deficiencies too, but it can also happen because of impaired liver function and impaired gut health. because that's where the conversion happens. And imbalances in the gut bacteria and the yeast particularly are common issues. And stress can also suppress the conversion of thyroid hormones. And that's something that pretty much everyone is dealing with in one way or another. Another common thyroid problem is autoimmune thyroiditis. Now, there can be different patterns, but generally what this is where your immune system produces antibodies that attack the thyroid. So much like when your immune system attacks bugs and viruses, the same can happen to your thyroid and other tissues in the body, and that's known as autoimmunity. Over time, this attack reduces thyroid function, but at first, it can actually send your thyroid overactive, so it can be confusing. And surprise, surprise, your doctor doesn't typically test for these antibodies. So most people who have underactive thyroid have no idea whether they have this immune reaction occurring. Why does this type of imbalance occur? Well, it can be triggered by poor gut health, food intolerances, underlying infections, heavy metals, molds, deficiencies, inflammation, stress, toxins. So lots of different things can trigger this. And so getting to the root of this is essential for not only healing the thyroid, but also for preventing further damage. So those are the 3 top causes of underactive thyroid. And there are, of course, more, but the chances are it's one or more of these factors that we're going to be dealing with for you. Now, if your doctor has told you that you need to take medication for your thyroid, then I'm not going to tell you that they're wrong. Rather, my message is that with the right intervention and by focusing on nourishing your body and putting nutrient-rich food into your diet, managing stress and looking after your gut and your liver, you can get a pretty solid foundation in place to begin healing your thyroid and preventing further damage. And it's possible that over time, your need for medication may reduce. When we work with our clients in the Nourish method, we run comprehensive tests on the thyroid and the areas that impact thyroid function so that we can give targeted advice and cut out this guesswork. So I hope you're feeling clearer on why your thyroid may be playing up, whether you have a diagnosed problem or you just suspect one. Now it's time for my favorite fact from the week. And the reason why this is my favorite fact is not because of the fact itself, because the fact isn't very uplifting, unfortunately, but it's my favorite because it disproves some quite dangerous information that I saw online a few weeks ago. So I'll start with some backstory. So I was scrolling through Facebook, wasting time, as you do, when I saw a post from a therapist that I follow. And she had recently done a course on something to do with fat bias and how people who are overweight and obese are treated differently, which of course is a big problem. And it's an important topic to be raising awareness about. So kudos to her for that. However, she shared some misinformation, and I think it's really dangerous. And she was saying that whenever you go to the doctor as an overweight person, whatever you go in for, you get told to lose weight. And I can see why that would be frustrating, especially as losing weight isn't as straightforward as the doctors like to make out. However, she went on to say that research shows that being overweight isn't bad for your health and it isn't linked to an increased risk of death. Now, I am 100% for body positivity and everyone being treated equally and respectfully, whatever their size, shape, colour, language, gender, age, or whatever. And I'm 100% for women loving themselves, whatever size they are, because happiness doesn't come from weighing less. It comes from loving yourself. However, while it's brilliant to see a greater variety of shapes in the media and normalizing what real bodies look like, We cannot pretend that carrying excess weight is healthy or it isn't raising the risk of health problems and premature death. And, not long after seeing this, I saw a very timely study on this very subject. So my fact of the week is this: carrying excess weight increases your risk of death by up to 91%. See, I told you it wasn't very uplifting, but I've included it because of what I saw on social media. And I wanted to raise it because there's a narrative going on at the moment that tells us that we should love ourselves as we are, and that's fine. But we can also show ourselves love by wanting better for ourselves and for our health. Now is the part of the show where I answer a listener's letter. However, I don't have one this week. No one has sent one in. So I've taken a question from my Facebook group, which is called Metabolism Rehab. You can find it by searching Metabolism Rehab on Facebook. And if you'd like help with a weight or nutrition struggle, then please send your question to louise@louisedigbynutrition.com and put the subject podcast, and I will answer your question on the show. So here's the question. Let me just get it up in front of me. So it says, my doctor recently checked my hormones, but says that they came back all clear. I'm still tired, but can't sleep, struggling with weight, night sweats, mood swings, thinning hair. I'm told there is nothing else they can check. Checked my FSH level, thyroid, etc. What else can I do? Okay. So this is something that I've talked about in the episodes about the sex hormones and the thyroid hormones. When you have your sex hormones checked at the doctors, they're mainly just looking at your TSH and LH, which are the hormones involved in ovulation. And when your doctor says they are normal or all clear, that just means that you're still ovulating. It doesn't mean that your estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone levels are normal. So these tests are really limited for that reason, and they don't actually give you any information that you can work with. Even if they were imbalanced, so what? All that means is that you may be perimenopausal or menopausal, and that still doesn't help you to figure out how to move forwards. Similarly, the thyroid tests, as we've discussed today in the previous episode, they're very limited too. So just because it's showing as normal, it doesn't mean that it is. And the fact that you're experiencing these symptoms tells me that there's probably something going on with your thyroid or sex hormones, which isn't uncommon if you're perimenopausal, and I'm assuming you are. So what else can you do? Well, you've got a couple of options. You could assume that your hormones are imbalanced and take steps to try and balance them. And the past 3 or 4 episodes have been focused on that. So I would listen to those if you haven't already to figure out your first steps. Alternatively, you could seek advice from a specialist who can help you to do better testing, more in-depth testing, and take an individualized approach to addressing the imbalances that come from that, so that you can cut out the guesswork. This is, of course, what I do with my clients in the Nourish method. So I can help you, or another registered nutritional therapist that specializes in hormones or holistic weight loss may be able to help you. Please make sure that they are registered. There are a worrying number of people and influencers out there calling themselves nutritionists or nutritional therapists when they've just done a weekend course or studied a related field such as personal training, where they just touch on nutrition but don't go into the depth that's definitely needed to work with women with these types of hormonal issues and needs. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to talk to me about anything that I've discussed in this episode, you can reach me on Facebook and Instagram by searching at Louise Digby Nutrition, or you can email me with your question to be answered on the podcast by emailing louise@louisedigbynutrition.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and click follow and leave a review. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.